Hi, I'm Terry Murphy, Senior Editor for Realty Times, Women in Business, Women in Real Estate, in the men's room with Murph. Oh, do we have a fabulous man in the men's room today? His name is Bob Hale. If you haven't heard of him, you haven't been living. He is the CEO and been the CEO and president of the Houston Association of Realtors since 1988. And we're so excited to have him here. He has been cited in Inman News, Swanepoel's Power 200 list. You've been on that every year. You have to be on that every year, Bob. And the best part about him, he's married to Susie Hale, and she's been with Frog Pond forever. And here's the good news. We get to have him here today to talk about the 30th year of listings on the web. And he was so pivotal. Welcome, Bob.
Great to be here. Great to be here. I miss you.
Well, I remember being actually at the Houston Association of Realtors, walking the halls of that famous place when you had people from India, and we had a whole room full of these computers, and it was dark and cold, and we were talking about these new things called URLs and HTTPs and websites, and nobody really knew what they were. And you were so much of a I'd like to say a hero in that industry because you were part of that. Tell us about it.
I just blindly stumbled into it. In 1996, there was a one-day conference in Houston. It was a national conference put on by ASA, the American Society of Association Executives. And they had a keynote speaker who talked about the internet. And back then, no one knew exactly, AOL, I guess, was going on, but we didn't really know anything about it. So I went. At the spur of the moment, I went, just out of the fluke. And he made a comment. He said, in the future, your internet presence will be much more valuable than your physical presence. And I had no idea what he was talking about. So at the end of the presentation, I went up and asked him if I could ask a question. He said, certainly. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, your website will be more valuable to you than your office building. I went, what? We don't even have a website. How do we get a website? So I left there, went back, got our technology guy and a couple of other key staff at HAR. We went to our favorite Mexican restaurant, Molina's, had some margaritas, got some napkins and pencils, and started mapping out on a paper napkin what a website could look like, because we had never dealt with that before. So we created HAR.com out of that. If I hadn't gone to that meeting, truthfully, there may not be an HAR.com today, if you can believe that. It was dumb luck, but great luck. And so we had the idea, let's do this. Let's put the listings on there, because that's what consumers want. And there was no Zillow at that time, no Homes.com, no Redfin. And so we told the brokers, and immediately like, no. We want our own website. We want consumers to come to our website. Well, with over 5,000 individual brokerages in Houston, can you imagine if they were all competing for those consumer eyeballs? I mean, when last year Homes.com spent $1 billion marketing its website, $1 billion. Can you imagine if those were competing? Well, we know what would happen. It would be so it took me almost a year of hand-to-hand combat, and in a friendly way, trying to convince them this is in your best interest. Co-opetition. We work together because all the leads will go to you and your agents. Every lead will go to the member. There'll be no fees or no referral fees, no advertising fees. It's all included in your MLS fee. And so finally, we only had one broker who still fought us, and they were a big one, but everybody else was like, okay, this makes sense, because we don't even know how to create a website, number one. And then how would we get the listings on it? I mean, so their HR.com was launched in October of 1997. And that's when we had our realtor rally that time, and we made a big deal because we had thousands of members there. We made a big deal about it. You may have been at that, actually. So
I was.
That's where it
I was
all
in
that's
the.
where it all started, and it's just grown like a weed since then.
You have been a leader. I mean, a fearless leader in this, and a visionary, Bob. How this worked. I mean, you even. So I know where the office is located, and you even had a sign put on har.com in the top of the building.
Yeah,
No one had ever done that. Nobody knew what a .com was. And there
yeah,
you were, this strategist providing this coordination between the board, the executive people, the consumer. I mean, Houston is a huge footprint in that whole launching. And we had Microsoft involved.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
remember that?
I remember being invited by Microsoft. I can't remember what their product was called back then, their real estate site. But spent 2 days with them, and they showed me everything they had, and they were curious about what we were doing. But that was a real eye opener. Their deal didn't work, but they were a pioneer in it. Google tried it and didn't stay with it.
Didn't
So
make it.
it's not an easy thing. If Microsoft to Google can't make a go of it, it's a tough deal. It really is. But the billboard, we're on the busiest. Our office is on the busiest freeway in Texas. More cars pass there than any place. So Taki, who's our head of technology for HR.com, had the idea. He calls me Mr. Bob. He said, Mr. Bob, right now it says Houston Association of Realtors with a big R. Why don't we get rid of that and put HAR.com, homes and rentals? So we got pushback from one group, the past presidents. They were like, "Oh, you can't do that. That's our namesake." The members, kind of like, that makes sense. And we convinced them the consumers have no interest whatever in the Houston Association of Realtors, zero. They really have a great interest in HR.com. So who drives by there? The members don't drive by there. Thousands and thousands of consumers drive by there. So everybody got on board, and now we just keep updating that sign. But that sign is precious. And it's interesting. Richard Mendenhall, when he was president of NAR, I was in a group with the officers. There were maybe 5 of us total in the room. And one of them, Richard was president. And one of them asked Richard, said, Richard, who's the top association in MLS in the country? He said, HAR. And somebody said, well, okay. Of course, I'm sitting there. And somebody said, well, who's number 2? And he said, there really isn't a number 2. So Richard has always been a huge supporter of HR and HR.com. And he told this story at numerous national meetings about how HAR has this young man from Pakistan, Taki Rizvi, who came up with HR.com and the idea to put it on the billboard. He said, the young man's a genius, and Taki is a genius.
I remember that. And I remember it was exciting because I was working with, which was then the Realtors Information Network, which is now Realtor.com.
Yeah,
and all of the chaos and the boards worrying about who is going to get the listings and the data and the whole thing. And yet you were able to navigate that. And of course, I'm going to embarrass you a little bit and say it was your charm to go to person to person to person to get them to understand. No, I'm serious, because people had fear. We didn't know what this new thing was. And I had to spend $1,800 on something dark gray I couldn't even wear. I mean, it was like, who needed a computer? People were, bought from people. But you were so smart to know that the people that were driving by just wanted a home. They didn't care about an association. And now today you've got 7 million unique visitors.
Well, we have 3.5 million unique visitors and about 8 million visits. People that come, some of them come twice, in other words, or 3 or 4. I mean, I talk to any doctor I go to, our dog's veterinarian. I mean, you name it, you go in there and all they want to do is talk about HR.com. I'm like, well, wait a minute, what about the pain?
What about my dog?
And I mean, one of them, Susie went to the doctor one time, and all he wanted to do is talk about how he could buy an interest in HR.com. So every consumer in Houston knows HR.com without a doubt. I mean, they live on it. they look for ways to remodel their kitchen. They look for ideas
Yeah,
for their
exactly.
pool. It's amazing.
Food, shelter, and clothing, and
Yeah.
and shelter is number one. And one of the things that was, well, I mean, you've had plenty of people appreciate you. You've been proclaimed Bob Hale Day twice by your mayor. I mean, there's reasons that people admire what you do and how you do it. And the one part about and you realize that we are a person-to-person business. I mean, still, I mean, you can look at everything on the web. Look at how this has transpired. If you remember, the original tours were, bamboo.com and
Yeah.
all of these ways for us. And then you led everybody through COVID because, and I know Rita was working with you, that you could disseminate training and keep everybody glued during that time that was so tumultuous. And
I'll tell you a story about that. This is really, again, just luck. We have a building next door to us. It used to be the AT&T building because AT&T had a big store in there, 2-story building, large building. And they moved out and it was for sale or lease. And so we made an offer to buy it, and we were going to gut it and turn it into an education training center because it had adequate parking. And we have limited parking, and education is big. And so we were going to do that. COVID hit. We hadn't closed yet. COVID hit. Education in person totally stopped. Everything became remote. But what happened to our education? It skyrocketed because people before, you had a young mother who couldn't go from 6 to 9 at night to a class, but she could sit at her computer at home and do it. So our numbers just skyrocketed. We realized we'll never go back to in person like we did before. We canceled the contract. If we'd have bought that and then COVID hit, we would have an albatross around our neck right now. It would have been the worst decision ever. So things work out. But remote training has just been amazing, just incredible.
Well, you've led the industry in so many ways. Inman made you the Innovator of the Year. I mean, because I think you're a possibility thinker. And clearly during that time where we were looking at, come on, we went from printed books that people delivered to this thing with putting terminals in our offices. But your persistence and your vision is what made that happen. Can you believe what has happened though in the last number of days where literally we now have what Richard Mendenhall talked about, where we could unlock our home, we could turn on the lights, not being there. And we all thought, I don't know what they're smoking, but it can't be real. And yet all of these things have come into fruition today. What do you see coming forward for you in the next, in the industry?
Well, let me just make a couple of comments. One, this little thing, the telephone has become the office of every member because we have the HR.com app. So they go there to Matrix, which is our MLS system, and basically can do everything in there. We've created a CRM. We've got agent ratings. We've got, the mobile app is amazing. We've had over 3 million downloads of our app, 3 million. And we have 50,000 members. So that leaves a whole lot of somebody else's. So consumers, every consumer that you'll ever meet has that app on their phone. We were just in Washington meeting with our Congress members, and one of the female Congress women from Houston, we walk in, she turns her phone around, she said, look what I'm doing. She was on HAR.com looking at real estate, saying this is the greatest thing ever. Now this is a congressperson who lives on it. And I forgot to mention a while ago, when you talk about everybody knows HR.com, when Harvey hit, that big hurricane, when we lost power and HR.com went down. It never had gone down before, but we were down for about 5 days. The next day, the front page of the Houston Chronicle front page, headline, HAR.com down.
Oh,
And when it came
well, all
back
right.
up, it was like, hooray, HR.com is back, or something like that. But even, I mean, our major newspaper made that a primary story on the front page, that your website is down, guys.
This is a tribute to how you have branded and integrated the Houston Association HAR into the lives of so many people. And again, creating an app is we'd have never thought of that 30 years ago. So
No,
look how far
no.
you've come, Bob Hale.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate your being with us. I think that maybe a closing comment about the progress, the history, the trials, the tribulations, the challenges, and the successes might be interesting to people listening as we put this anniversary on Showcase.
I think you got to do the right thing. You just have to do what needs to be done, and you can't let the naysayers stop you, because they're always the naysayers. And we compete with Zillow, Realtor, Homes.com, and Realtor.com produces a product called List Hub, and it ranks the websites. And so in Houston, HR.com typically has 52%. Zillow and Realtor have the rest. So we're always a little bit more than the other two combined. We're the only city in America, that Zillow is not the #1 real estate website. And
Wow.
you're very good friends. We work really well together. We had an attack by bots recently that just nearly took HR. Well, it actually did take us down 2 or 3 times, but just because it was just overwhelming. And guess what? Zillow got their security people, their internet security people, to spend 2 hours with us on, here's what they do. Here's who you should talk to as vendors. I mean, we help each other. We compete like crazy, but we're friendly competitors. And we're the same with Realtor.com and Homes.com. I mean, we're all trying to do one thing. We're trying to help our members sell their listings to buyers that want to buy it. And where they find
People need houses.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So,
well, Bob, here's the thing. You provided that. It's all about relationships, and you and I know that.
Yeah.
Relationships endure because people find value and comfort and trust. And here you are with Zillow, the 800-pound gorilla, and you're working collaboratively. And that speaks well to your ability to both recognize, appreciate, and negotiate. I'll just put it that way. So I want to thank you so much for all you've done for the industry, because you've led the industry, not just Houston. And you continue to do that, which is, everybody can do it once, but since 1988, you're our hero. Thank you so much for joining us.
Let me close with one comment. I get a lot of recognition, okay? I've always wanted to be the dumbest, laziest employee at HAR, and I've succeeded because I've got the best team in the entire country, whether it's training, meetings, international, commercial, MLS, technology, whatever. They're the best. And the best leadership, the elected officers. They work together hand in glove with the staff. It's amazing. So even though the light shines on me a lot, it takes a village. It's not one person that can do anything.
Well, that speaks also to your humility. We so appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you'll join us again for other updates, because Houston is the star of the children. It's a great opportunity, and you're
Thanks, Terry.
Thanks so much for joining us.